think every once in a while, everybody just needs to let that inner feral mountain person out and go do something that is maybe not that smart. So I had a plan for this weekend. Mapped out a route in my little trip planning app, knew where I was going to go, where I was camping, everything down to the last detail. And I had company. And as happens in life, sometimes life gets in the way. And my company had to reschedule for next weekend. So next weekend, we'll be doing this trip that I had planned out this weekend because I already had the itch, you know. And I think if you're watching content like this, if you're subscribed to channels like this, if this video came up in your recommended feed, you know all too well the feeling of just needing to go. And I needed to go. So this trip, I have no plan. I'm in an area I'm very familiar with, on trails I've walked dozens of times, but I'm making it up as I go. And I know for a lot of you, mainly your two friends in particular, whose buttholes puckered up just a little bit at the idea of going on a trip with no plan. But I think inside all of us who do this kind of stuff, who go backpacking, mountain biking, snowshoeing, skiing, whatever your thing is, there is this kind of feral little mountain person that lives within us. And I think it's healthy and important to every so often let that little chaos demon free. So I have no plan. I don't know where I'll camp tonight. Don't know how far I'll walk. No idea where I'll end up. And it's freeing and wonderful. And I think everybody should do it every so often. Chose the area that I'm hiking in this weekend for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's really close to home. It's less than an hour's drive from my front door to the trailhead. It's an area that I've spent a significant amount of time in. It's kind of like my comfort food of hiking trails. You know, I come out here quite often, and I've had a bunch of really great adventures, filmed a bunch of fun videos. I really like it here. It's my go-to spot when I just need to take an overnight trip. The second reason is kind of directly tied to the first, and that is because I'm hiking with no plan, because I'm making this trip up as I go, I can mitigate some of the risk involved by being in an area I'm very familiar with. The possibility of me getting lost out here is pretty slim. And even if I do end up someplace I'm not familiar with, it'd be pretty easy to find some landmark, a lake or a trail or creek or something that I do recognize, and then get back on track and get back to the car pretty easily. So even though I am sort of making this up as I go, I'm making it up as I go in an area that I'm very familiar with. Bumped into a group of hikers who were heading back out. They had camped last night and were heading back down to their car. And they said a whole bunch of people that they passed were headed to Glacier Lake. And I've camped at Glacier Lake numerous times. It's a beautiful area. But knowing that a whole bunch of people are going there, I am not. So, not really a plan, but at least I know where I'm not going. This has got to be one of my favorite trail markers that I've ever seen. Very simple, very to the point. I love it. So far on this trip, I have not seen any moving water. There's a couple lakes, and there's a few lakes down on side trails that I didn't take. But other than a stagnant pond here and there, I haven't really seen any water. Now, I don't need any, I've got plenty, but there is some small comfort, I think, in finding water, even if you don't need it. So I made it to Glacier Lake, and as expected, it's pretty crowded, lots of campers. So there's this other trail that I've seen several times when I was camping at Glacier, and I have no idea where it goes, but I'm currently walking on it, so we're gonna find out. So in classic Lost with Jim fashion, that trail that I'd never been on just loops right back around and takes me to the trail that I came up. So I'm very literally heading back to the car, which is not what I want to do. So I think I've decided that this is going to be an off-trail adventure. I've got a couple of lakes that I can see on my map and on my app that look pretty interesting. So yeah, let's go find a lake. So I took a detour to what I thought was a little lake. It's more of a pond, and it's got some pretty significant algae growth. And in and around these parts, there is a toxic algae. I'm not 100% sure what that toxic algae looks like. I'm not sure I could discern the toxic stuff from just plain old algae. So the dilemma I have now, that I am out of water. I have none left. And this is the only water source I see. But I don't trust it. I'm gonna skip it. Push on and try to find something better. Finally found some water. Not the best water I've ever filtered. Not the worst either. I've definitely filtered from sketchier sources. The off-trail part of this trip has become a little bit more than I bargained for, but it's cool. Like, I'm having a wonderful time. This is so much fun. I'm tired. I'm thirsty, but I'm able to resolve that issue right now. And I'm cruising down this dry creek bed towards Looney Lake and hoping to find some camping there. If I don't find camping there, Looney is very, very close to Downey Lake, and I know I can camp there. And once I hit Looney Lake, I can get back on the established trail, so I'll have some easier walking. But even though this is more than I bargained for, even though this is more than I had expected, it's great. I'm having so much fun. This is exactly what I needed, just to get out and kind of kick my own ass. So happy to have found water. That was getting sketchy. So Looney Lake, I think it's Looney Lake. It's got only one O, so, but who cares? It was a bust. There was no place to camp. It was very marshy and buggy, just kind of gross. So I'm working my way up over this big ridge towards Downy Lake. And this is definitely more adventure than I had planned on for this weekend, but I'm still having fun. I'm still feeling good. I'm still feeling strong. Looking forward to being at the top of this ridge. A little bit of a scramble here and there, but alright, so it's about 6:25, almost 6:30 in the evening. I've been walking since 10:30 this morning, and I'm not at Downy Lake. I'm at a lake that on my map has no name, but it is crystal clear and cold, and there's a nice big flat area to set up a tent, so we're calling this home for the night. Pretty happy to be done walking. Today was definitely more adventure than I planned, but it never stopped being fun. Like, I was having fun the whole time. I never had like that, oh, I'm so done, I want to quit feeling. It was just fun the whole time, even for the hour or so that I had no water, and I was kind of panicking a little bit about that and searching for water. I was still having a good time. But I am definitely excited to be done walking for the day. Walk back out of this little canyon into the next canyon to get to Downy Lake tomorrow, and then I'll meet back up with that Grouse Ridge trail and head back to the car. But for tonight, I'm camping next to a lake with no name. I'm really excited about my dinner tonight. I brought some of the Bob's Red Mill potato flakes, 2 pretty healthy scoops of nutritional yeast, and then some broccoli and peas that I dehydrated at home. And I'm gonna add some of the soy jerky that I also make in my dehydrator at home. It's just soy curls, and this one is a teriyaki miso marinade. So I'm excited. I'm eating food that I kind of made myself, so let's get to it. Let's have dinner. And now we wait. So I've been hearing some kind of vocalization. Not entirely sure what it is. My mind was racing, through all the possibilities. Could it be a bear? Could it be a mountain lion? What could it be? And as I was scanning the horizon, trying to see if I could figure out what was happening, who was making that noise, I saw kind of a lone coyote sitting up on the ridge across from me, looking down. So I yelled super loud, like loud as I could yell, and he tore off. But I'm not 100% convinced that it was the coyote making the noise. And the harder I listen and the more I kind of sit here and try to stay calm, I think it might just be a big old bullfrog just making a weird, not very bullfroggy noise. But I didn't feel super comfortable with that coyote staring down at me from the ridge. And I know there are bears out here, and I know there are very rare sightings of mountain lions, but boy, I don't like whatever that noise is. So up and cooking breakfast, kind of reflecting on my trip with no plan. And so my only goals really for this weekend were, I wanted to walk most of the day. I just wanted to be in motion most of the day, and I wanted to sleep under the stars. So mission accomplished on both counts. Now, if I had planned this trip, if I had drawn up a route and planned to, cover 12 miles, 13 miles, 15 miles, whatever the goal was, I probably would have had easier walking. But in those off-trail and scrambling bits, I saw some really cool stuff. I saw that little spring full of baby snakes, and saw some incredible views, and I wouldn't have had that experience had I planned the trip, because I most certainly wouldn't have gone the way that I went. And so again, I find a real value in these kind of rogue chaos trips, and I think every once in a while, everybody just needs to let that inner feral mountain person out and go do something that is maybe not that smart. But again, still having fun. I'm gonna call this a win. So as I'm walking out, much easier hiking than I had later in the afternoon yesterday. Kind of dwelling on how concerned I was over the weird animal noises that I heard. It's a little embarrassing, to be completely honest. And I thought about just deleting that video and not including it. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized it's kind of an important aspect of backpacking, especially for newer backpackers. And especially when you're solo, when you're out by yourself, you're off the beaten path, you're not on an established trail, you're not in an established campground. It's easy to let your imagination run wild. And I think leaving that section in this video, I'm doing that for the brand new hiker, for the hiker who may have bailed on a trip because they heard a weird noise, or the hiker who hasn't yet stayed overnight because they're worried about wild animals. And I think it's important for you to know that, even experienced hikers get freaked out every now and again. It's nothing to be ashamed about. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. And yeah, it happens to everybody. So don't worry about it.